Hey guys, welcome back to The Binger. I hope you like SpongeBob SquarePants because I've got a doozy for you today. I'm going to take an in-depth look at an animated sensation, pointing out some of the moments where he was just plain inappropriate. For a kids program, SpongeBob writers know how to push the envelope so far that it becomes a faint memory. If you're ready to be shocked, tickled, and educated, settle in and sit back. Before I get started, I better point out that if you're easily offended, then you may want to go watch My Little Pony instead, because here we go. Poor Squidward just can't catch a break, can he? The majority of the characters in Bikini Bottom are fairly happy-go-lucky, but not this guy. He's the resident grumpy pants and harbinger of all things negative and depressing. He can't help it, it's just the way he is, and he's not changing for anybody. Ever. That's why we love him, isn't it? His down-and-out personality makes him the perfect neighbor for SpongeBob, as both of their qualities are totally different. SpongeBob just wants to make everyone happy, while Squidward just wants to be left alone. Don't we all? In one episode, SpongeBob decides to kidnap his buddy and take him to a party that he's thrown together. No one throws a bash quite like SpongeBob, no matter how badly it goes. Since no one could turn up on such short notice, SpongeBob filled the room with handcrafted models of himself. Clearly, this wasn't Squidward's idea of a good time, as he went loco. In a scene that's really more Ren and Stimpy than SpongeBob SquarePants, a rampage ensues. No paper model is safe as Squidward tears them all to pieces, obliterating them as he climbs up the walls. His red eyes bulge with sheer insanity, and at one point, he even breaks out a handy electric chainsaw. With mental health a real issue in a lot of people's lives, this was probably a little too OTT for a kids program, don't you think? If you're squeamish, you may want to look away now. Seriously, I'm pretty tough, but this one made me regret having soup for lunch. In this episode, SpongeBob gets one of the most annoying things that anyone can ever experience. No, it's not a parking ticket or an ex that continues to watch your Netflix account post-split, it's a splinter. We've all been there, haven't we? Those irritatingly painful little slices of nasties bury themselves so deep that it can take an age to get out. No matter whether you tackle it with tweezers or a hot compress, they just won't budge themselves. While it's rad that the writers created a whole storyline over something so trivial, the way they went about it was stomach churning. After trying to get the splinter out himself and making it worse, SpongeBob employs the help of Mr. Krabs. Mr. Krabs is shocked to see the state of SpongeBob's thumb, which is as huge, red, and bulbous as he is. He uses his claws to get that bad boy straight out of the delighted yellow dude. But it's not over. What does Mr. Krabs get in return for his friendly act? A shower of pus that's just ungodly. Do kids really watch this? I remember being young, but not young and happy to watch cartoons leaking bodily fluids all over the place. Ugh. Remember when you were a kid and your mom used to tell you that if you make faces they would get stuck that way? Well, it actually happened to SpongeBob and Patrick. The goofy best buddies were having a face-off, but after they showed the whole of Bikini Bottom their unique talents, SpongeBob and Patrick realized their faces were stuck. Despite getting Sandy to help them out, they couldn't get them back to normal. The squirrel did her best, but could only make them look a little more relaxed. It wouldn't have been as bad if these faces weren't genuinely terrifying. Alright, put your hand up if you've ever been traumatized by something you've watched on TV. Yeah, I see ya. I'm right there with you. Now, thanks to SpongeBob, a whole host of other kids probably go to bed with nightmares. Props to the animators because those guys were really messed up. It takes some talent to come up with those crazy distortions, that's for sure. By the end of the episode, Squidward and Mr. Krabs have also succumbed to the dreaded face freeze. Why? Because it's a cartoon, and things happen for no reason. I'll be right back, I just gotta go purge these images from my poor impressionable soul. Before I get started, I want to make something perfectly clear. I too have known the love of many good burgers. From Mickey D's and Burger King to Wendy's and Five Guys. I'm a sucker for a bouncy bun and a sizzling slab of meat. The only beef that I have with burgers is the beef that I'm chowing down on. You dig? That being said, this entire SpongeBob episode put me and millions of other people off of the delicious sandwiches for quite some time. If that's not going too far, I don't know what is. Look, you don't mess with somebody's fast food addiction unless you're cruising for a bruising. In one season 5 episode, SpongeBob fell in love with the perfect Krabby Patty. He's so deeply enamored with the creation that he keeps it for way too long, carting it around as it rots. After inventively naming the patty, Patty, he romances it like he's on The Bachelor. He even takes Patty to work for a fancy date, turning everyone off their food as the stench rolls around the restaurant. The Sponge's reaction to his soulmate is eerie and weird, to the point of discomfort. The worst part? It's when the young Don Juan devours the maggot-ridden burger to show his true love after Mr. Krabs convinces him to. Is it me, or is there something Hannibal-like about this whole thing? I'm no stranger to weird and wonderful cartoons, but this takes the cake. Or should I say the donut? Way back when, there was a character called the Tickler that had a run-in with Sandy in the episode Karate Island. His ultimate goal is to make SpongeBob buy real estate, but it doesn't quite work out. Unless you're really up to date with your Urban Dictionary terms, then you probably wouldn't have noticed how inappropriate this character actually was. On second thought, the invasive touching and tickling attacks might have alerted you. Either way, there's a hidden context here that most people won't get. As the character is French and uses extendable claw-like things to tickle Sandy, you could say that he was the French tickler. I can't describe in full detail what that means, but go ahead and Google it after you're finished watching this. Let's just say it's something that you wouldn't want your mom to find if you ever unexpectedly passed away and she has to clear out your bedside table. Wiener jokes. At this point, they're just traditional, aren't they? Who doesn't hear the word wiener and chuckle? Okay, maybe people who are a little more mature than you and I, but you're on my side here, right? SpongeBob writers are good at inserting adult jokes here and there, knowing that kids won't get the reference. That's what makes it such a popular show that transcends age barriers, although it is primarily aimed at children. In one episode, SpongeBob and Squidward are angry about Mr. Krabs' wiener enterprise. As they talk about what they can do, Squidward says he hopes Mr. Krabs' whole wiener thing will blow up right in his face. It's a small moment, but considering this is a censored show, it makes you wonder who was on the job that day, doesn't it? Honestly, I think there might be some under-the-table dealing going on here. How else would this joke see the light of day otherwise? Where do I start with this one? SpongeBob isn't the sharpest tool in the shed, it's just the way he is. He's supposed to be a lovable dope with a good heart and an unending amount of optimism. It's his naivete that powers the series, as he often ends up developing gags that would be totally out of the question otherwise. In one particular scene, scheming mastermind Plankton is trying to manipulate him into doing his bidding. He orders him to be assertive, but SpongeBob mistakes the word for insertive. To demonstrate, he repeatedly pokes his finger into a pocket, making weird noises as he goes. Now, of course, this is a reference for intimate goings-ons that kids just wouldn't understand. The rest of the world has got your number though, SpongeBob writers. There's something truly chilling about watching that wide-eyed sponge dipping his finger in and out of that crevice. It makes me want to turn off my TV set for life. Or for like 5 minutes anyway. I'm only human after all. Patrick, genius. Yeah, right. He's pink and sweet, but Patrick is about as intelligent as a shoe. He's so far away from being a genius that it seems ridiculous to even say it. However, he does have the occasional good idea, or what SpongeBob thinks is a good idea, so even that is a debatable point. The two buddies spend a lot of time together, bringing with them some of the show's best moments. We've had a lot of laughs, but this one was perfectly timed and on point. After some discussion, Patrick suggests a solution to a problem the two are facing. SpongeBob initially rebuffs it, but then he tells his BFF that his genius is showing. Panicked and confused, Patrick covers his crotch and asks, "Where?" Clearly, the unsettled starfish mistook the compliment for another G word and rushed to cover up his private parts. Patrick and SpongeBob are right up there with the comedy greats like Laurel and Hardy. Even though they might push it a little too far at times, they're icons that can't be replaced. This episode starts out in a relatively tame way, compared to where it ends up. Mr. Krabs feels old, so he gets a little down on himself when a group of kids refuse to play with him. In a bid to be young and free again, he crashes SpongeBob and Patrick's Wild Night Out. Only their version of wild isn't wild at all, but incredibly tame. They pick some trash up from under the highway and ride around on an underwater bicycle. As far as Saturday nights go, that's a huge letdown. Mr. Krabs is starting to get irritated by the drab night until they arrive at a house. Patrick and SpongeBob reassure their boss that they do this all the time as they climb in through a window. This is where things get strange. They go into a bedroom and open a panty drawer in the dark. Mr. Krabs is delighted, pulling out a giant pair of purple and yellow bloomers. I'm not sure exactly what's going on here, and I'm not sure that I really want to know. In a further bizarre twist, the house turns out to be Mr. Krabs' mom's, meaning he just tried to steal his own mother's underwear. Going to the mall when you were a kid and getting some coinage from your parents to go on a ride was awesome, wasn't it? As an adult, I think they're hunks of junk that provide as much thrill as a trip to the dentist. But back then, they were the bee's knees, baby. Two Bikini Bottom residents decide to have a go on a seahorse ride that's outside the Krusty Krab. Only there's a problem. The ride isn't a ride at all, but SpongeBob's beloved pet. The two customers don't realize this until they try to find the coin slot. Can you tell where I'm gonna go with this? When they insert the coin, the horse goes wild and boots the unsuspecting hillbilly to the back of beyond. The other one watches on, confused as a vegetarian ordering from KFC. Is it any wonder that the whole of Bikini Bottom is a little bit messed up if this is what they have to deal with? On a side note, who decides what characters can speak and which ones can't? This seahorse is as good a fish as the rest of them, but apparently has no voice. Maybe that's the cruelest joke of all. That was a lot of ground to cover. What do you think? Did I hit the nail right on the head with these, or can you think of moments even more inappropriate? Sound off in the comments down below. But before you leave me, be sure to give this video a nice big thumbs up and hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. Also, make sure to hit that subscribe button so that you'll get all of our latest releases. And until next time, guys and dolls, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.